Excellent. Okay. So what I wanted to show you guys today is first I'm going to reiterate the previous lesson about how to mask. Now this was drawn out and I did a quick drawing on here. You guys did a little bit more elaborate drawing, but you can see where the drawing is. And it's also been shellacked a little bit in order to put, the sealer is very good to help the oil clay stick. And what we're using today is a plastilina. Some people call it a plastilina or an oil clay or a plasticine. It's all basically clay that has, instead of water, it's oil and wax that are put in here. And so what we're going to do is we had shellacked it, and I'm going to be adding clay to mimic this drapery here. And my first step that I told you guys to, or the first step that I asked you guys to do was what was called massing. Do you remember how I described that? What was massing?
It was like just adding like little clay bits down onto the board and not like really shaping anything out.
Exactly.
It's just kind of like figuring out how thick the layers are at least.
Right. That's a very good, you remembered it well. Good for you. The way I describe massing is simple. It's the amount of clay in location, meaning how much clay do I need and where is it going to go? So if I want to mimic or copy this form here onto this square here, what I'm going to do is decide how much clay I need and then where does it go. Okay? And that's a simple thing. And a lot of you ended up doing very well on this last week, but I just want to show you again how that's working. Still recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so.
No, it's not. The screen is black.
It's still blinking.
It's blank.
No, it's not.
There it goes. All right, whatever. We are here now. Hopefully it recorded whatever we were talking about before. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm making a decision about how much clay I'm putting down and in what location. Now in this case, I could add a lot of clay because I know that I'm building it up according to that, or according to my observation along this path. And what I like to do is after I've done my drawing, I like to go through and work towards the high point. So in this case, I'm adding a lot of clay along here, and I'm trying to build it up to a certain height. Now you'll notice there's a couple things that I'm going to say to you over and over again. One is that did it stop again?
I mean, it's still up.
It might be the.
No, the screen turns off, but it's still recording.
Yeah.
The screen that we're looking at turns off.
Okay.
But it's there.
It's still recording because the little red light.
Yeah, the little red light.
Okay. We're gonna. I don't know. Well, if it doesn't, then guess what? You're all taking notes, right? Yes. All right. Oh, technology. Come on. So I'm really adding just bits of clay until I get to where I'm going. But it's also important that you're not just adding arbitrary bits of clay. What you're actually doing is trying to make a decision about how much clay I need, which means that if I need a lot of clay, I should choose a lot of clay. And if I need a little bit of clay, I should choose a little bit of clay. But actually what you're doing is you are making a critical decision. So a critical decision means I'm observing something and I'm making a decision about what I observed. And I'm making a calculation about that in my head. And of course I'm going to be wrong about that. But the more I do it, the more I'm going to be closer and more accurate. So doing this consciously and intentionally will make you a better observer of the form that we're looking at, okay? And that you're not just you're thinking, okay, I need this much clay, or I need this much mass, and so I'm going to continue to put it on there until I get where I want to go. Okay? Now, I saw a couple of you did a beautiful job, and I want to, you know, maybe use you as a guinea pig. But in this case, like now, this is starting to ramp down. There's a high point here. Now, one of the habits that I want you guys to constantly do is not just kind of orient it this way. I want you to do things like this, moving it, right? And what does that do? It gives me a better, you know, a better sense of the three-dimensionality of it, right? Why? Because I'm seeing it at different angles. A three-dimensional object requires us to understand it from multiple angles. And so by me flipping it around, that's very useful. And the other thing is I could flip it around this way, and I can also move my viewpoint. So if I look down like this, right, and I kind of look at it horizontally, that's going to help a lot as well. So in this case, it's going to help quite a bit because of the, well, let's call it the amplitude, right? The amplitude is like the height of this. I'm going to be using some of those terms quite a bit, so you'll have to get used to them. But now this is a high point, and then it comes down here. So as you're massing, you are coming down and you're observing not just where the folds are. And I will include all this. Now my model here, I set up very quickly, and maybe you guys don't have these larger areas of flat, but I am going to include a certain amount. I think maybe I want to, there is like a little bump along through here. So, and I'm doing this quickly because I know that you guys are so excited to get back to your own work and work with the clay, so I don't want to keep you too long. But here I am working. So again, I'm just massing. And I want to get this to a certain level, and then I'm going to show you how to move on from this form. Now the clay that I'm using here it could be a lot warmer and softer. So if you feel like you really have to fight against the clay, by all means, go put it in the microwave for a couple minutes, or make sure your work is against the heater. You know, only keep a little bit in your hand at any one time. Although what I would say is that this is actually formulated to be nice and soft at your temperature of your body, right? So like if I hold it in my hand for a long time, it really, that's exactly where you want your clay to be. Now, it would take a while. So what you could do is like stick it in your shirt, you know, just put it on. It's a nice way to warm it if you, we did that once. We were doing this outside, and it was a really cold day, so we stuck it in our armpits and got it all warmed up when we were doing this outdoor project with the oil clay, but it turned out to be a cold day, so I had everybody put their oil clay in their armpits. All right. I know, it sounds crazy, but we had a great time doing it. We all had a joke. We all had a laugh. Okay, so here I am adding the clay. I'm building up higher over here, and so what I'm going to do eventually to demo is to actually model this form here. Okay? By this point, you guys have all really seen it. You've watched the videos online, and you know what I'm going to be doing here. So you said you had your tool that I had you guys buy. Okay, good for you. So I'm going to take this one out, and what else did I? Perfect. These are perfect tools, and they weren't very expensive, were they?
No.
No. All right, so now that I have the clay approximately where I want it, now I want to begin what's called volumetric process, right? So what we always do, the way I always lecture on form making or modeling is from mass to volume to surface. Okay, so mass we've already talked about. Volume, though, is often characterized by forms such as like a cylinder or a cube, right, or a sphere. Those are volumes. Those are volumes that are described in a lot of ways mathematically. They're forms that are understandable from a rational point of view, meaning that they have a certain logical shape to them. And from the videos, you know what I mean by a cylinder, right? A cylinder is like a pipe. And we can describe a pipe or a cylinder with really only 3 forms or 3 measurements. It's right. It's height, width, and depth, essentially. Okay, but a cylinder in itself is its direction, its length, and then its radius. And you can describe that cylinder. It's the same cylinder as anyone that has those measurements. And so volume becomes that form that has structure and has that certain amount of rationality. So let's add some structure to this form. Can you give me a little bit more clay?
I was going to say there's also a cone.
Yeah, cone. Cone is, like I said on the video, a cone is really just an altered cylinder, and that is described by the change in radius along its form, along its length, right? Yeah. So like this clay here is it's cool to the touch, and it would definitely be something where you could throw that again in the microwave if you wanted to. Just don't overdo it. So we have that amount of clay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start drawing on the surface. And the drawing on the surface, you're going to do a couple things. The first part of it is you might draw in boundaries. You might draw in extremities, which just means I'm just modeling in through here. I'm going to draw in the direction of the form through its high points. Okay, you see that? I've come up this way and I've drawn out this way up here. You're going to do the whole thing, but what I often do will draw the high points just to sketch it out, but also the form changes. So in this case, what you're going to find is that there's the fabric is broken up into a series of cylinders. Now, you all watched the video, right, that I sent? Go like this for me. All right. I need a piece of paper. Did I do the paper demo on the video? No? All right. You know what I need is a stiff piece of typing paper. Do I have anything around? Right there behind you. That is, yep. Okay. So this is the syllabus. Now, a cylinder, or let's talk about the paper for a second. This paper is analogous to the fabric. And what's going to happen here is if you think to yourself, well, there's no structure here. This is not, it's kind of floppy and everything else. But all I really ever have to do to this is to give it a little bend, right? And all of a sudden it has a ton of structure. This is what's called an arc, right? Maybe from architecture, if you've taken art history class, right? And you know about arcs, right? From Roman architecture. And so what do we have? We have an arc here. Now, that arc has a lot of structure this way, right? So now it can hold its form. But what I can't really do with this is take that arc and then bend it, right? So that's where it has the structure. Okay. So the paper itself and the fabric itself, once it has that form, it really does, it wants to stay in that cylinder form. You know what, you see that right there, that's a cylinder, okay? But that's the structure. Now if I try to bend that, right? If I try to bend that into a piece of a drapery, what do I get? You see that? What's that?
Sharp corner.
a sharp point, but what did I call it on the video? You remember that?
An eye.
The eye of the fold, exactly, right? So right in there, so it creased right in there. You see that? Okay, so that's what's actually happening here, is that eye of the fold when I bend it. Now come over really close, and I'm going to point out some of that. Because it's the drapery, the geometry of the drapery is all cylinders and eyes. The eye is where that cylinder bends and breaks. But actually within that cylinder is a secondary cylinder right in here. This is a negative cylinder, right? Or a cylinder that's coming in this direction. And that's what's intersecting these other cylinders, or cones, right? Cones, cones, cylinder. Now let's see if we can find that in our drapery. Right along here, that's an easy one. That's a cylinder, and then a negative cylinder right in there, and then there's another cylinder and a negative cylinder all the way up through here, and then there's an eye right here, right? Because it's a negative cylinder, cylinder. This is a positive cylinder, negative cylinder, an eye right in there, all over through here. Here's a cylinder, and then there's an eye right in here. It's the bend. Here's an eye right there. Cylinder, negative cylinder, cylinder. There would be an eye right in there. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. If it doesn't make sense, go like this. Go like this. It doesn't make sense. Okay. We're gonna. Hopefully, it'll make it a little bit more clear in a second, and then I'm going to do another demo with that. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a convex cylinder here and a concave cylinder there. And I'm simply going to start modeling across the form, right? This is that one there. It's going all the way down. And then up and over this one here. Up and over. I probably could have chosen a little bit more descriptive or characteristic form. But I also did that on the video, so. Cylinder, okay. Now, what am I doing actually? I'm actually modeling across the form. So I've given myself a description of its length, or its direction and its length. And then I'm going to give it a description of its radius. Remember I told you a volume is described that way, or in this case a cylinder is described in those three measurements. Its direction, its length, and then its radius. And the radius is the thing that we're going to be kind of fussing around with today. The radius is making a decision about how big that negative cylinder is, and then we're going to make a decision about how big that cylinder is, right? So I'm modeling across the form, describing the radius of the cylinder. Boom, boom. Is that making sense? So this equals that. Can I model it in this direction? It's not going to work very well. This is going to give you a really good description of that form. So if I come in here and I go like that, okay, and I come up like that, this is what you guys are going to be doing on your models, okay? I'm seeing a lot of smoke coming up off your heads, which means that you're thinking and you're getting smarter. You guys all feel smarter now? Yes? Good. All right. So, guinea pig. No, Jessica. Your real name is Jessica, but tonight
I'll be your guinea pig.
You're going to be the guinea pig. So I want to show you this. So Jessica has a really beautiful massing structure. I mean, it already looks very good, right? I'm going to hopefully. And so what I wanted to do is just show you how you might go from this to what I did there, right? So that was a demo, and I think this is going to, if I do it on yours, it's going to be a lot more clear about what we're doing, okay? So can you roll your, you have to unhook your phone and then roll your, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. It's the, if you're a guinea pig, you, okay. So this is yours. Now this looks beautiful. we'll talk about, there's some arrangement things, the drawing of it, the proportions are a little bit off that we can fix up. But let's just talk about, we'll do this area here. So the way I would do it is I'm looking here, and I might, in my mind, describe this across that form, right? And over through here, and then down into there, and then up and over this cylinder here. You can see that cylinder very clearly. But you might not see this one clearly, and you might not see this negative cylinder right here clearly. So let me make that more explicit. So in this case, I go across, and then down, and then over, and then in, way in there, and then up and over. Now, I'm using this nice tool that has little teeth on it. If you don't have one of these, you can look in that bucket over there, or whatever you have. Even if you don't have teeth on yours, you're still going to model across that form in that way. So even if you have a butter knife, this will work. So I might go in again. You see how my tool is going across the form here, up and then down, up and then down. You'll okay. Now most of the time what I like to do with this is to drag it like this. And so you might have to go back and forth. But it is very important that what you're actually doing is you're modeling across the form. Now, there's always more to what I'm asking you to do. And the more part is the fact that I don't just want you to model this way, I want you to think that way, okay? So if you model this way, you are thinking correctly about the form, okay? If you go like this, if you say, I see it there, but he doesn't care, I just do it like that, I'm just gonna smooth it out. Now what you've done is you haven't really understood what you're looking at, and all you're doing is trying to make that smooth, okay? But I want you to look at that and you see the cylinder, find the cylinder, and then model it. Now, this is really beautifully laid out. So you're gonna have a great time doing this. So the way, I showed you how to do it, but if you get a little confused about where your cylinders are, the best way to do it is to draw them out first, right? So if I might draw it here, and these are just high points, you could draw high points in, and then just draw maybe some form breaks. Sometimes I'll call them form breaks, which just means where is the form changing direction, right? So this is the form break there, and then it comes down, there's another cylinder here. And all you're doing is really describing where the cylinders are. And if you do that, and you just draw on the surface like that, okay? Something like this. And then it comes down here. You've mapped out your situation, and then you would model across those lines. Okay? That's basically it. Now, let me give a little caveat, is that these I've chosen pretty simple cylinders, but you're going to find cylinders in here that are more like cones, and they're pretty complex, like this big curve in here, or maybe this one here, and you go, well, couldn't I go like this? There's pretty much a directionality to these things. It really, when you really start looking at it, you're going to realize that even if it's a terry cloth, washcloth here, but it really wants to be in those cylinders, and that's just the structure of the fabric, right? Fabric, and I chose this material for a couple reasons, but the thing about fabric and drapery is that it doesn't stretch, okay? It also doesn't really compress. So that's true about the fabric, even though it's softer. So that's what's happening there. If this was, spandex or something, then, a lot of this stuff wouldn't really work. But things like jeans and terry cloth, they don't stretch. Like if you just look at my pants, right? Like right in here, we could find all that. Same things, right? Can you see that? There's a cylinder, there's a negative cylinder, here's the eye of the fold. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Let's look. You know, look at your sweatshirt, or if you look at here's my wool sweater. You won't be able to see it on the GoPro, but you know, negative, positive. Now, this is the last thing I'm going to show you about this, and so you stick with me because I'm going to do a little origami. Do you remember this origami there, Diego? All right. Do you remember how to do it? You probably not.
I was over here.
Yes, I know, but you may not remember what I was doing. Do you remember it? Okay. This. Hold on. Okay. All right. So Diego is our resident expert in origami. Now
Don't look at me.
No, we're looking at you. We're all testing you in our minds. We're going, he doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, he's got it. He's got it. Look at him. Look at him go. Look at those fingers just work. That's exactly right. Okay. Now let me show them. Do you want to show them what it means? Okay. What does this mean when it comes to fabric? This little pleating pattern, right? What it is that you're going to find this a lot. This is the convex surface, concave cylinder. Do you guys know what those terms mean? I haven't used those terms yet. Convex means high and out, right? Concave is like a cave, it's in. So these are the negative cylinders right in here, and these are the positive. And then in between is on these little corners, that's where the eye of the fold is going to be. But here's the key about it, is that this is the structure that your fabric wants. And you're going to find that in there, that once you see an eye of the fold and a negative cylinder, it turns into an eye of the fold and then turns in positive. So you're going to see that. Let's see if we can. Do you guys understand what I meant by that?
Yeah.
That this is the zigzaggy pattern that you're going to find in your fabric. So for example, in this one, we have, let's say, hopefully we can find. Yeah, I think so, right. So what you're going to have here is this zigzag right here. You have a convex, concave, right? And then then there's the eye of the fold, and it comes up, and it changes direction again. I think that's I usually use the crooks of my shirt to show you that, and you can see that here, so that you can maybe start recognizing it in your own work. Do you see that?
Yeah.
You're not going to see it on the GoPro, but maybe.
Concave in the eye of the fold right there. Convex, concave in the eye of the fold right there. Right?
Exactly right. Good for you. Let's do it. Do you mind if I use your shirt so that they can see it on the GoPro? Just hold it there.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So concave right here, and then it goes into convex right there. Same thing here. Concave, convex. Okay. This is something when we go to the museum, you're gonna see that a lot more, that pattern. Okay. Is that making sense? Okay. All right. All right. I'm gonna pause this. All right. Yes.
Looking at the turn button.
Oh yes.